The COVID-19 pandemic and the rapid development of novel vaccines has shined a spotlight on the profound innovations underway in the healthcare sector, such as the life-changing treatments developed through gene sequencing, cell therapy, and artificial intelligence. Jean Hynes, CEO of Wellington Management, has had her pulse on healthcare for her entire career. She joined the Boston-based asset manager as an administrative assistant in 1991 and worked her way up to portfolio manager on several healthcare equity funds, including the $52 billion Vanguard Health Care Fund, the largest healthcare fund in the U.S. Witnessing Jean's rise at Wellington has been incredibly motivating. In July, Jean passed another career milestone when she became Wellington's first female CEO. So I traveled to Boston to sit down with Jean and discuss her inspirational journey, views on the future of healthcare, the qualities of a great investor, and her approach to diversity and leadership in a hybrid work world. Jean, thank you so much. What a pleasure it is to talk to you today.
I'm so glad to be here, Amy. Thank you.
You've managed several healthcare funds at Wellington, and like a true player coach, you decided to retain some of your portfolio manager responsibilities upon becoming CEO. How do you manage both?
So I am managing the Vanguard Health Care Fund. So I'm managing one fund going forward. It's a large cap, low turnover fund. So it's very well aligned with the dual responsibilities. So why am I still managing money? One, you can see I'm passionate about it.
Absolutely.
But two, being a CEO of an investment management firm and an investor-based CEO, the industry is changing so much that having an investor so close to our investment process, hopefully will allow us to continue to change and evolve. And I'm a big believer that everyone has super strengths, and probably one of my strongest super strengths is being extremely organized. And what I mean by that is I've always been able to balance holistically how I spend my time with my children and my husband, work. The last 7 years being a managing partner and managing 9 portfolios. The other aspect is I'm very comfortable leveraging others. Leveraging the healthcare team, the 15-person strong healthcare team, and all the work, deep work that they're doing.
Being a great investor requires a balance of in-depth research, portfolio construction skills, and knowing when, where, and how to take risk. But you've also said it's about seeing into the future. So what's your secret to predicting what hasn't yet happened?
It's not only predicting the future, it's actually predicting it quite a few years, because most of the things we're studying now won't be on the market to patients until 27 or 2028. And so we really have to look long term. And our philosophy about doing deep research is, you have to know every therapeutic category, every area of medicine, and then you have to realize how things are changing.
Yeah.
It's a combination of meeting small companies, biotech companies, for example, who need to raise capital, and so they will deep dive with you into their pipelines. It's meeting the big companies, meeting companies in Japan and China and Europe and the US. They all are working on different parts of those therapeutic categories and providing information so you can connect dots. And then it's the ability to interact with physicians and researchers who spend all of their time on one therapeutic area and so gaining their expertise. Then you can say, all right, this area of medicine in 5 or 6 years I think is really going to change.
What are the biggest trends that you and your team are focused on today and maybe over the next decade?
So the biggest change in my career has been the unraveling of the human genome. So that started, the first human genome was sequenced in 2002. That took 30 years and $3 billion. And now a human genome can be sequenced overnight. But just to give you some background, that even though from 2002 to say like 2010, there was not much progress because the machines were still really expensive. It was only with the introduction of next generation sequencing machines in 2010 that the industry really began to really do experiments. And then it's really only been in the last 5 years that the industry has been able to do deep experiments. We call it deep sequencing an area of biology 50 times or 100 times. And so what that allows the industry and scientists and academics as well as in the industry to just understand and unravel biology. What is normal, what is not normal, what is mutated. We're just so early in this whole journey of unraveling biology and where and what causes disease and what causes disease in certain people.
So what technologies are you the most excited about, or what breakthroughs get you going?
So, one of the most interesting things is if you look at the history of medicines and how you go after biology. So you take an oral drug like an Advil or an aspirin, that goes after small receptors in the body. In the 1990s, we introduced therapeutics that went after proteins, such as larger proteins in the body. You might have heard of monoclonal antibodies, and those go after large receptors versus small receptors. But in 2021, you have oral drugs still, and even better oral drugs because you understand the biology better. You have monoclonal antibodies, which is probably a third of all therapeutics now. And then you have a whole new repertoire of ways of going after DNA. So mRNA, you've seen that with the COVID vaccines, something called small interfering RNA interference, gene therapy, gene editing, ways of going after biology that just never existed. And those platforms are all being de-risked. So I think that's the most exciting part, the fact that you have multiple ways and modalities of going after biology.
So let's talk about Wellington. Always been an innovator within the asset management space. And to that point, we understand that your private equity business has become a big area of growth and focus for the firm. So why did you enter the space, and what are your plans for it?
Yeah. So we entered the space because we had a very passionate investor who was a growth investor, one of our partners who he was just recognizing that the number of companies coming public had really declined, and they were staying private longer. And so the analysis, it was such an adjacency for us.
Sure.
In the sense of, one of our strong skill sets is bottom-up fundamental, deep research across equities, and both on the credit side and the equity side. I would say he doggedly convinced the management team to give it a try and let's go. So that started in 2014. And if you fast forward to 2021, we now have two platforms, a late stage growth platform and a biology-based platform. A year from now, we will have a climate platform. We will have a diverse founders platform. You could see us longer term being involved in some parts of real estate, some parts of private credit, potentially. We have such a strong fixed income franchise. So we're studying those, carefully.
So uniquely, Wellington has no chief investment officer. So how does that shape your culture, and how do you balance accountability with allowing portfolio managers to do what they do best and have their own style?
So it goes back to that. If I had to describe the Wellington investment platform, I would say it's an ecosystem of ideas. So where debate and challenge is there. So that no one owns a stock, no one owns the coverage of a stock, no one owns the rating of a stock. I mean, clearly we have ratings and we have coverage, but we are a marketplace of ideas. One of the things I'm most proud of at Wellington is that we do have, let's say, 550-ish investors with all different capabilities, from long short to privates to CMBS to healthcare equities to China A shares. So we've just been able to attract talent all over the globe. New joiners will come in and just say, the content on this platform is amazing. It's going to help me so much. You want to make sure that you have debate. Everyone's ideas can be heard. And then beautifully, everyone goes back and then, like you said, does do their own philosophy and process. So we have about 60 small businesses at Wellington, and they go and run their healthcare business or run their energy business or run their global high yield business. So we have a whole fiduciary process that overlooks the portfolio management process, both so from the line managers to managers, and also separately a fiduciary oversight.
We talked about this a little bit before, but sourcing and promoting diverse talent is a huge priority for leaders in financial services now, maybe more than ever. Do you feel more pressure to promote diversity being a female CEO?
I feel the appropriate pressure. So I don't know if I feel more pressure, but it's clearly very, very close to my heart. A story I like to tell is that last year when I was doing my listening tour, I talked to Ken Frazier, who is a good friend and was CEO and now is the chairman of Merck. And, one of the things he implored me, he's like, we have a responsibility to, have humanity more represented in our workforces. And I really actually like that framework. We want humanity represented. So we have a lot more room to go. So I don't think it's necessarily because I'm a female CEO, but we're in a business where, as we talked about, how do you predict the future, right? Sure. Predicting the future is not easy. And I think there's so well-defined research now that shows diversity of thought really leads to more innovation and more creativity and more problem solving. And so if we're in the business of predicting the future, our firm should be more diverse, and we will serve our clients better.
You've said active management has a real vital role to play in the ESG space. Yeah. How are you approaching that within Wellington?
Yeah, so ESG is a big area of investment for our firm. I do think ESG and sustainability will change the structure of markets. And so what we're doing at Wellington, I'll tell you about a three-pronged approach. One is, how do we make sure, and back to our model of really focusing on companies and our relationship with corporates around the world. So how do we have a ESG sustainable view for each company? So we've had ESG research for quite a number of years, and we've been steadily increasing that, and we will have a framework for rating on a forward basis, all the companies under coverage. It's going to be a combined ESG, equity, credit, teamwork, sector-based teamwork way of doing it. And so what we're doing is making sure, one, we have a framework for how we're doing that. Two, we're spending, quite a bit on technology. Three, we're helping all of our investors integrate it into their portfolio philosophy and process. And then I think it's going to be a very big opportunity from a product development perspective as well. And we have a number of very passionate investors who are coming up with really interesting ideas about how different kinds of companies are going to impact sustainability, either through climate improvers or companies that you would know,
Sure.
but some aspect of them are changing the sustainability lens, fast movers. So that should be our advantage.
How did mentorship shape your experience?
Yeah, so, when I came into the industry in the 1990s, it was, there weren't a lot of role models like me in the investment, even at Wellington. But I had amazing mentors throughout my career. And I would say Ed Owens would probably be number one. He is number one. I worked with him for 20 years. We call him the Dean of Health Care, very accomplished healthcare investor. So I got to learn the art of investing under Ed. And he really, really taught me how to, one, be a great researcher. And I think he gave me the time. And then he also taught me how to take risk. You actually have to put into portfolios and you have to generate alpha. One of my goals is, and I think it's important for Wellington and for the industry, is to have more female portfolio managers. So, at any one time, I'm mentoring a number of women who have the potential to be team leaders or portfolio managers here at Wellington. I think that's a place where I'm uniquely qualified and need to give back.
Well, you're so amazing, and this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you so much, Amy.